So for the new people, I'll explain what table topic is first, and then I'll tell you what the topic is. So in table topics, it's a way of giving you a chance for kind of some improv. So the person that's the table topic master, myself today, will pick a subject or multi-subjects and then invite people from the audience to come back up, and you have between 1 and 2 minutes to expand upon whatever the subject is. So the timer in the back, when you hit 1 minute, will turn green. When you hit 1.5 minutes, it'll turn yellow, and when you hit 2 minutes, it'll turn red, and you got 30 seconds to wrap it up. So when they asked where the speakers all in time, they made it to the green line, so they weren't short, but they didn't go 30 seconds past the red line, so they were long. So you want to be somewhere between the green light coming on and the red light coming on, or going off on. So for the table talk, it was really kind of funny. The topic I had chose kind of goes after Bart Merrill's speech. So my So my mom is one of those people that can't make a decision to save her life. She drives me absolutely mad. So we're going to go kind of a couple different subjects. The first one is, today we went and finally ordered the gravestone for my dad's grave. My dad died November 2012. It's almost 5 years later, and she has finally decided what she wants on the headstone. So the first, we're going to do kind of some odd subjects. First subject, for a couple people, what would you, looking at your life and what you want people to remember you as, what would you like to have say on your headstone? Something about your life. Take a minute and explain why you would like people to know you for this, so to speak. The second one is, do you have someone in your life that and you can choose which one you want to do, that takes 5 years to make a decision, and how do you deal with them? And the third one would be, if you do have someone like that, how would you help them to make a decision? So kind of some odd things to think about. So we'll ask for volunteers first.
Sorry, I missed what you said for the topic. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, can you repeat the topic one more time?
We're going to do what would you want on your headstone? What would you want your headstone to say about you and your life? Do you have someone in your life that drives you crazy and takes forever to make a decision? How do you deal with them? And then the third one, how would you help them? And Bird Dog is our first volunteer. Which one would you like to do? Come on up.
Help.
Help. Come on up.
So someone's got a video.
What was the third one?
Are you videoing that part?
Yes.
Oh, it's already being videoed, unless you want to do it on your phone.
You want to do your phone too?
I got it.
It's for my own good.
Yeah, we'll turn it sideways.
Yeah. On a widescreen?
I does not.
It shows better when you post it.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm thinking about it. To help someone that's having a hard time making a decision, I'm in the military and I deal with that every day. People just don't know how to make decisions, so you make them make a decision. You only give them 1 or 2 options to make a decision. If they don't make that option for them, make it for them, and then you push them in that direction to where they need to go. And if it be right, it'd be right. If not, then I guess you have to consequences with it. But even for life and all that, there's lots of people that are pushing different directions for you. But you yourself have to make the great decision. That's me. I always pray about it before anything. And after that, I always get the decision one way or another. So just make a decision. You can't be sitting on the fence, because if you're sitting on the fence, then no progress is happening. And life is about now, not later. You have to enjoy life now so you can enjoy things later too. So make decisions. It's not that hard.
Thank you. That's basically what I did with Mom. We walked around the graveyard and she said, well, I kind of want that and I want that. Pick one. Kind of want that and I kind of want that. Pick one. So I made her pick them. We went back and did it. It's crazy. So very good. Jill, come on up. Which one would you like to do?
About dealing with a person that can't make a decision. I'm kind of like that, actually. Am I green already?
Nope, start.
Spoke really quickly. Woo!
Timer.
Busy. Okay. This experience that I'm going to relate to you has happened several times. I had 6 children, and the last several, well, it started with the first one. Hard time for my husband to decide on a name. And it was because he didn't want to name of many of the ones that I had dated. Well, I dated a lot of people, and I really liked a lot of their names. Anyway, the experience I'm thinking about was my fourth child, my boy, and he just, I mean, he sent out mailers for suggestions, and I thought, I don't care what anybody else, well, I don't want to name this. I wanted to name him David because, well, actually, I almost married a David. But and we called Johnny David for 6 months. In fact, on my mother's dying, I mean, she was in the hospital dying, and I had Johnny with me, and we called my husband, and he said, my mother said, so, is it going to be David for sure? And he says, yeah. And so later on, I was the chorister at church, and we were blessing the baby. He named him John. And I went, but what do? You can't jump up and say, no, you can't do this. You can? Well, I didn't think I could. And I would have probably been embarrassed to do that. But it was very hard to deal with that particular thing. And what I did is I just let it go because I knew it could be World War III if I really made ripples, because I can be a volcano. Anyway, that's how I dealt with it. I just let it go.
All right, so anyone want to take our third, which was the first subject?
Hello.
Come on up.
How much are we getting in for these?
What? How much time? One minute, your minimum.
Okay, okay, okay.
2.5 minutes.
1 minute.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So, many of you have probably seen on the news what's happening in Houston. It's a pretty tragic time down there. I serve my LDS mission in Houston, so the temple down there, the LDS temple, it's actually kind of on a high ground. And even that's flooding now. And it's crazy, the pictures. We were actually looking at some images this morning of just the before and after shots of what's been happening in the communities. That's a giant city, you guys, fourth largest in the country, and it's underwater. And it's interesting to see the reaction of some people to others. Some people run. And you have this flight or flight syndrome that we all try to take account. And we would like to think that I would be a stay and fight and help people out of these messes, but then I find myself here, and I see myself looking at the news and wishing I could be there, but in reality I'm like, man, I'm just grateful I'm here. And so when it comes to the headstone, what would I want on it? It's funny because I think I prefer something funny, to be honest, but I'm not that funny of a person. Nobody's going to look at me after I die and say, man, he was funny. Yes, he was the funny grandpa or whatever. But I would really like, and again, I know it's kind of cliche, but I would really like to be something about me being reliable. Me being somebody that they could always count on being there. Because I see people who suffer and they struggle day in and day out in situations like this today down there. And we get to sit here in our cush little lives in Utah. And I know the earthquake's coming. Don't worry. We'll get our turn. We'll get our turn. But if there's one thing that I wish I could say, it was that guy's selfless. That no matter what, he put his family first, he put others around him first. And when he passed away, they knew that from the day they met me to the day I died, that I would have been there to serve them if I could. That's what I would have liked better.
Turn our time back to our Toastmaster.
And we got